welcome to Your Family Dog, a podcast dedicated to helping families love living with dogs. Here are your hosts, Julie Fudge Smith and Colleen Pelar.
Hello, and welcome to Your Family Dog, a podcast dedicated to helping families love living with dogs. I'm Julie Fudge Smith, and I'm here, of course, with Colleen Pelar. But today we have a special guest we are very excited to have on board, and that's Dr. Zazie Todd. She has a PhD in psychology. She's an honors graduate of the Academy for Dog Trainers. And she created Companion Animal Psychology, a wonderful, wonderful blog all about learning how to be your dog's best friend. And it's about the science of people's relationships with their pets. And I can't recommend it highly enough. Make sure you check out Companion Animal Psychology blog. You're right. In 2012, and recently, she created it in 2012, and it recently celebrated its 5th anniversary, so that's very good as well. She has a new blog at Psychology Today called Fellow Creatures, and her book WAG, The Science of Making Your Dog Happy, was recently acquired by Greystone Books, and she tells us it should be out in about 18 months, so we're definitely going to have her back. She's originally from the UK, but she now lives in British Columbia with her husband, 1 dog, and 2 cats. So thank you, Zazie, for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you very, very much for such a lovely introduction and for having me on the show. It's really nice to come and chat with you.
Well, great. All right, Colleen, you got your first question for Zazie?
I do have my first question, and my first question is, why dogs? Why are you going into psychology and then particularly focused on dogs? What inspired your passion for that?
I guess because I love dogs, but I should say
Yay!
I write about cats too. So my blog is dogs and cats, and I love both dogs and cats. And I think there's a lot that we can do to improve our relationship with them and to give them happier lives. And also, in the last few years especially, there's been a huge increase in the amount of research that's being done on dogs in particular, a little bit on cats. Cats are lagging, but there's some really fascinating research happening on dogs and canine cognition and animal behavior and how we interact with dogs. And so one of the reasons I started my blog was to explore some of that research and explain it for ordinary people who have pets, because actually I think people are really very interested in learning about some of this stuff. Some of it is really very cool, some very cool scientific studies. And if we have a better understanding of our dogs, then we can have a better life with them. We know how to make them happier, and I think that makes us happier too if we have a happy dog.
Oh, I agree.
I think your blog does a fantastic job of taking the science and making it digestible.
Absolutely.
Because I got to tell you, when other people talk about the studies and they're like, you have to go read that study, and I start and I'm like, all of the buzzwordy science language and the control groups and the variables and all. I mean, I can read it, but I don't want to read it. So you read it for me and then put it in English. And I'm like, yeah, I heard about that. That's amazing. Thank you for putting it in English for me instead of science talk.
That's right. It is very accessible. We had linked to one of your blogs. I don't know if you know that when we were talking. At least, it's on how to choose a dog trainer. And we linked that in our episode, How to Choose a Dog Trainer. We talked a lot about your blog. And one thing I would tell you is I had a client, or a potential client. She actually lived too far away for me to take her as a client. And she had contacted me about her daughter's dog who had actually killed a dog. And what did they do? And I immediately sent them to the OSU behavior department, thinking that they probably needed more help than I could give them. But she contacted me several months later and said, now I have a dog who also needs training, and I don't know how to find a trainer. So I said, read this blog and then go look for a trainer. She emailed me the next day and said, I'm so glad you armed me, because I almost hired a guy who was going to use a choke chain, and now I'm going to see somebody else who I think is just what you want me to do. So your blog saved a dog from a choke chain. So bravo.
Awesome. Thank you. That's really nice. And that's one of the reasons I wrote that post, because people tell me that it's really hard to find a dog trainer. And sometimes when you look at dog trainers' websites, they're not always transparent about the methods that they use. And this is something that Jean Donaldson talks about a lot as well. And so it's actually quite difficult when you read what people have written, unless you're really clued in. And the ordinary dog owner doesn't know the science behind it. They can't tell if someone is making something up that they claim is science or if it really is science. And I wanted to find a way to make it easier for people to find a good dog trainer who would help them with their dog, who would use appropriate science-based methods that are recommended by professional organizations, because it makes a big difference. And the other thing that I hear sometimes is that some dog trainers apparently are not terribly nice to their clients when they come to talking about leadership, and when they tell people you need to be the alpha, which is completely outdated advice. But also there's something of a personal comment in that, which sometimes comes across politely, and sometimes from what people tell me, it's actually doesn't come across so politely. And so people make people feel bad about their dogs. They're using these wrong methods. They're recommending these methods that are outdated and professional organizations don't recommend anymore, and then they're also making people feel bad about how they are with their dogs. And a good dog trainer is also a good teacher, and they will help you to learn how to teach your dog, which is actually a very technical skill. Some of it sounds very easy, some of it is easy, some of it is really a lot more complicated and technical, and it really helps to have a good teacher. So I'm also hoping that article will help people find a good teacher who's using good methods.
Right.
Yes, because every dog trainer should really like people. But that's not true. I mean, that really should be the basic entrance requirement. I really love dogs and I really love people, but they only get step A.
Yeah. The number of people say, I just can't wait to get past the owner to the dog. And I'm like, really? Because, I've never had a dog actually hand me a check. And and the dog is just simply not going to get the training it needs if the people don't like you. And the other thing is I have found too, is that it's important that people think and believe that you not only like them, but that you like their dog. They have to know that you're comfortable with both of them, or they spend the entire time being anxious and trying to figure out a way for you to like their dog. So I think it's just really important that people feel comfortable and happy and liked. But that's a nice lead-in, I think, to then if you've got good training and you've got this good dog, then how do you continue to help everybody be comfortable and happy in their life?
Yeah,
what can
happy.
Happy.
That's your goal, your gift. You make happy dogs happier. What do you do?
Yeah. Absolutely, happy dogs. Well, first of all, I'd actually like to say something briefly about the science of happy dogs and why it's important.
Great.
Because the ways in which people think about animal welfare have been changing, and we've gone a little way from a model where people talk about preventing harm or preventing anxiety and things like that. And now we think more and more about ensuring that animals have positive opportunities, happy experiences. And I really wanted to share a quote with you from a guy called Professor David Mellor, who's at Massey University in New Zealand. And one of the things he's written about is he's written a lot about animal welfare. And he says the overall objective is to provide opportunities for animals to thrive, not simply survive. And I wanted to share that with you because I think that's a wonderful message, and I think it's a message that lots of dog owners can easily get behind and want to get behind. They want their dogs to be happy, and they want their dogs to thrive. And, this is really important for the animal's welfare. If you have a happy dog, basically your dog has good welfare. So that's an important message, I think.
Oh, I do too.
Important message.
Yeah, it's a great message, and I think it's something both Colleen and I strive for very much. And then we both talk about, we want dogs to thrive. Surviving's not good enough. We really want your dog to thrive. So
absolutely.
So, what are some of the first steps you tell people if they just want to do a better job making their dog happy? What should they be looking at?
I would actually start with a dog walk because that's a very easy way to give your dog nice, positive experiences. And I think everybody can take their dog out for a walk. That's a nice, easy thing to do. And one of the things we actually know is that not every dog gets to go for regular walks. And I think for the people who take their dog out, whatever the weather, I'm one of those people. My dog goes out 2 or 3 times a day, regardless of torrential rain. We get a lot of torrential rain in this part of the world.
Yes, you do.
But we go out anyway, and unless it's so bad that my dog doesn't want to go out, then he's allowed a pass. But usually we go out anyway, but only about 60% of people take their dog for walks, is what research tells us. And the average dog gets taken for 4 walks a week, totaling about 160 minutes a week. And so one very easy way to make your dog happier is actually to take them for more walks, if they like going for walks. And the other thing that you can do on a walk is you can turn it into something that we like to call a sniffari. So you can basically let your dog follow their nose and make sure that they have lots of sniffing time, because I think every dog owner knows that their dog likes to sniff. Sniffing is important to dogs, but the thing is they don't just have their nose, they also have something called a vomeronasal organ, which is kind of in the upper palate, close to their nose, and that's also an olfactory organ, especially for smelling pheromones. And so these are quite important parts of a dog's apparatus. We know if you look at a dog sniffing, you can see the way their nose moves. It's quite beautiful the way a dog's nose twitches from side to side when they're sniffing. We know this is really important for dogs. So one of the ways we can make them happy is just to give them opportunities to sniff more, even if sometimes it's a bit boring for the people to have to stand in one spot and you want to keep on walking. But if you just let the dog follow their nose and have a sniffari, they can really enjoy that. And that's obviously something that every dog owner can provide for free to their dog. So that's a really nice thing to do.
I like the sniffari. I love it. If you don't mind, I'm going to start stealing that. That is a wonderful description. So.
I didn't coin the phrase. I've stolen it from other people. I think it's a fantastic way to describe it.
It's like a good one to catch on.
Yes, that's right.
We'll start spreading that one, because I haven't heard it before, and it's perfect, and it describes. You can remember it. The point and what it will be.
Yeah, it's one of those great descriptive words. It reminds me of a T-shirt I saw yesterday that, by the way, I sent the link to it, Colleen, to Dr. McElroy, our search and rescue woman, and there's a dog whose nose is to the ground and it says "sniff happens." And so
that's fantastic.
Yes.
Well, that's what you want to do. You want to let sniff happen. And the other thing some people don't know is, sometimes when your dog is sniffing, you see their tongue come out. Maybe, like if they're air scenting, maybe their tongue comes out as if they're licking the air. Or sometimes it's a bit more gross, and maybe they're sniffing like some poop or some recent dog urine on the ground and their tongue comes out. What's likely happening then is actually they're using their vomeronasal organ, because air doesn't go directly into it. The molecules get absorbed into like the saliva in the mouth or the mucus in the nose, and that's how they get to that organ. So that's part of their sniffing experience, not something that we experience as people, but for a dog that's part of their sniffing experience, and it can disgust us, obviously, but that's why they're doing it. They're getting more information out of the thing that they're paying attention to and smelling, obviously tasting a little bit.
Right. I've also been told that's another reason why dogs will carry around your dirty socks, is it's literally sort of putting your scent into the vomeronasal organ and getting you closer to them, especially if you're gone. What do you think of that idea?
It certainly could be. Dogs. We know that dogs like to sniff us. If we've been away for a while, part of how they experience is sniffing. So certainly that's possible.
So what about inside the house? What's something that people could do inside that would make their dogs happier?
I think food enrichment is a really nice thing to do, and that can involve buying food toys to use, but it can also be free, because, for example, you could just scatter kibble in the grass outside for your dog to find with their nose, or you could make something called a snuffle mat, which is like a mat with loopy bits of fabric sticking out from it. So it's akin to finding stuff in blades of grass, but it's fabric, and you put it in there and the dog has to work their nose through to find it. Or you can just hide treats about the house. Put your dog in another room, hide a few treats, and then let them come and find them. And that can be a really fun game for your dog as well. Dogs
and
also
all
like
using their nose with that. It's the indoor
sniffari. That is an indoor sniffari. Yeah, but we also know that dogs like to work to earn food rewards. And there was a really nice study a few years ago by someone called Dr. Ragan McGowan, and she called it the Eureka effect. And she designed an experiment where she tested dogs where she had them in pairs, matched pairs, and half of the time they had the opportunity to solve a puzzle to earn a reward at their end, and the other half of the dogs just had to wait for the amount of time it took their paired dog to solve the puzzle, and then they got the reward. So we might think that just getting the reward is enough, but actually what she found, it's counterintuitive to some people, is that they liked the experience of earning the reward. And that's a really nice study because it's something that we can easily apply in our daily life with dogs. We can give them opportunities to earn rewards.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And also, I think we can understand it. She explained it to me by saying it's like when we've spent a long time solving a puzzle and we're really pleased to have solved the puzzle at the end, we get this lovely feeling. She calls it Eureka. We've all experienced that, so our dogs like to experience that too. And one easy way to do that is just with reward-based training. Any kind of training exercise in which your dog gets a chance to earn rewards is going to provide cognitive enrichment, and it's going to give them the opportunity to experience earning a reward or some kind of treat from you. So that's another way in which we can provide enrichment for dogs in the home as well. And that's very easy. That doesn't take very much either, because you can look at videos on YouTube to give you ideas for things to train. If you've already got a really well-trained dog, you can look for tricks to teach or something like that. And that's very easy, and it can be a lot of fun for your dog as well. It's nice to give them those opportunities that's using the brain rather than using the nose to earn a reward.
And you can have something different every day. So sometimes when I just think like, oh, I should just do something with my dog, I just look around the office and I pick an object and I throw it on the floor. And we just decide, is he going to be stepping on it? Is he going to be picking it up with his mouth? But we're never going to do that again. It's just like, in this moment, I haven't got a plan. I don't know what I'm working on. I'm just going to have 5 minutes of fun with my dog. And so it doesn't matter. It could be anything. You could just do anything, which then makes it the puzzle again. Like, what does she want from me right now? Well, who knows? Because I don't know either.
Yes, absolutely. That can be a lot of fun. And also you touched on the idea of new things. And that's an interesting thing too, because dogs like things that are new. We know that they get bored of toys if they have the same toys all the time. So we can buy them new toys, or what's better is we can actually just rotate the toys. So you can put some of their toys away in a drawer for a little while, let them play with some other toys, and then when you bring the old toy back out of the drawer, it's new again. And so your dog will be pleased to see this. It's not entirely new. They'll recognize it from the smell, for example, but it's new to them at that time, and so that makes the toy more interesting than if it had been out in the living room all the time. So it's called neophilia, this liking for new things, and we have it too. We like new things as well, but we can just easily rotate the toys, and that makes them new again for the dog. And of course, you can also make them new again by playing with them ourselves and making them interesting to us. Then they're going to be interesting to the dog as well.
One of the things that I will do is I'll gather up all the soft toys and I'll wash them so they take the smell out of them, and then I put them in a laundry basket. And I put the laundry basket out, and then it's like, oh, it's like Christmas. And then I let him choose out 2 or 3 of the toys out of the basket, and then the basket gets put away. So it does seem like it's brand new because I've washed them.
Yeah,
so that's
perfect.
That's been a fun
really
thing.
Nice thing to do. And I do something similar, but without washing all of the toys always. I probably shouldn't say that. No, they're still clean enough.
Julie's far more tidy than some of us.
I just put them in a drawer and open the drawer, and it's the same thing as your laundry basket. The dog gets to pick, Bodger gets to pick, 2 or 3 toys from the drawer, and then he can run around the living room with them, and he finds it really exciting. Yeah, it's really nice.
The opportunity to pick is fun too. I mean, even if we just collected them in this moment, giving the dog a chance to pick, but even better when it's been taken away for a while, either for a terrible thing like cleaning or just been put in a drawer. The opportunity of like, wow, smorgasbord, what do I want right now?
One of the other things... Go ahead, Susie.
Sorry.
No problem.
That just quickly, that chance to pick is giving the dog a sense of control, a chance to be in control of what they're doing. And that's something else that we know is important for well-being and being happy. So giving the dog a choice like that they get to choose the toy. That's a really nice idea. That's a really good thing to do.
Well, what I have found too is that when I'm talking to the owners, especially ones who have dogs who are anxious or nervous, that I try to say, let's talk about how many different ways we can give your dog some control over their world. Because you're going to find it's going to reduce their anxiety if they don't feel like everything is being pushed upon them, but we have some choices. And it may be just as simple as when you're out for a walk. If somebody says, can I pet your dog? You can say, well, it's fine with me, but you have to ask Xerxes. And so that then people will ask you, well, what do you mean by that? Well, just put down your hand, and if Xerxes comes over to say hello, you can pet him. But if he doesn't, then I'm sorry, apparently we're not feeling social today. So just even little things like that, and then you can increase your dog's confidence by playing with him. Let him choose the game to play, and play that with him. Allow him to choose the toys that he wants to play with. Even allow him to choose. Here, you can have one of two treats. Which one do you want? And then which one you want first is probably more like it. But all those things I think help to make an anxious dog more comfortable, and that's going to help in the long run your dog be much happier and you be much happier as well. But do you have anything?
Absolutely.
I was going to ask you if you had anything in particular that you like to do with anxious or nervous dogs to help them be happier and more comfortable.
Well, I do like to do the thing that you just said of giving the dog a choice of whether or not to interact with people. And I like that for two reasons, because especially the way in which you describe explaining to the other person, give the dog a choice, you're educating the person about how to interact with the dog as well. And I think that's very important, because other people, they kind of can't help it. They want to rush up to our dogs and they want to pet them, and maybe the dog doesn't like it. And it's great if people have asked first instead of just rushing in.
Yes.
And it's great if you can explain, to put the hand out and maybe where the dog would prefer to be petted if they would like to be petted, because people often reach for the top of the head.
Yes.
And maybe they would prefer the side or under the chin or something like that instead. But also it's very important for helping the dog to feel safe, because they're not being forced into an encounter which they don't really want. They get to choose whether to have the encounter or not. And I think when someone has an anxious or fearful dog, that's a really important thing to remember. And it's something where often other people will give you quite bad advice, because people will want you to face. They will say you have to make the dog face his or her fears. And unfortunately, that can just make things a lot worse. And it would be the same for people with a phobia of spiders or snakes or something like that. It would potentially make them a lot worse too if they had to just face their fears. But it's a common thing that people say, when actually the really important thing is to make the dog feel safe. So not to put them in a situation where they're going to be stressed out and anxious. And so for some people, I think for some people with reactive dogs, for example, if the dog is actually afraid of other dogs, then that means walking your dog at times when you're not going to meet so many other people, or in places where you're not going to meet off-leash dogs that will run up to you when you don't want them to. For a dog that's quite fearful of other people, it might mean keeping them away from other people, not letting other people rush up to your dog. And you have to advocate for your dog, because you're the only one who knows what your dog needs and likes. So you can help to look after them. And then in the long term, you can develop a plan to kind of work on the anxiety or the fear if you need to. You can speak to your veterinarian about medications if you need to, but the most important thing is to make the dog feel safe and not put them in a situation where they will be anxious.
Right. And then do you find that teaching them some obedience skills and some tricks and playing games so that you have something to do in the event that you run into a dog, do you find that helps to boost the dog's confidence and also add enrichment to their lives?
It does. So all of those games, they can add an enrichment and be fun for the dog. They can also act as a distraction. If you end up somewhere where you are too close to something your dog would not like to be close to, it can be just a management technique of distracting them from it. You can also teach them to just let's go, to turn and go from something.
Right.
And then when you get a safe distance away, you can reward them with a game or with food or whatever works for your dog. So definitely there are several things that you can do, but the games can be a lot of fun. Some people do find that playing tug, for example, I would not recommend this I would recommend it for any dog, I think, games of tug and fetch and so on, because they can be so much fun for dogs and they can help to tire them out, especially if you have a dog that loves fetch or really loves tug, because some dogs have quite strong preferences for the kind of game that they're going to play. And if you know that a dog likes something, then it's nice to give them opportunities to do that.
Now, tug, I think tug is a great game, but a lot of people will say, "Oh, you can't possibly teach a dog tug because you're teaching it to be dominant," or whatever the current term is. Can you explain why you like tug?
I like tug because it's a fun game. My dog Bodger absolutely loves it so much, so it's really fun to play with him, and it's good exercise because he will play tug for as long as I let him, basically. He will keep going and going and going. He loves it that much, and so it makes him really happy. And I think it's a real shame that some people say that you shouldn't play tug with a dog, and we know that dominance isn't really the best way to think about our relationship with dogs.
Right.
It's not a good way to think about training our dogs either. And so that doesn't really come into it. I know people have been worried about it. There is actually a scientific study from a while ago from people at the University of Bristol where they played tug with some dogs. I think it must have been a really fun study for the dogs. And they looked at whether it does affect the dog's obedience behaviour. And it didn't cause any problems at all, basically. If the dog was allowed to win, what it meant was that the dog was really keen to play again and really engaged in the game. So there's also no evidence at all when people say that you shouldn't play tug because of dominance. There's no evidence for that, and it's a really fun game, and it's a really nice way to enrich your dog's life. So if your dog likes tug, then you should teach them to play it. It's also a good opportunity to teach them that their mouth has to stay on the rope and not on you and not on your clothes, because I think some people worry that you'll be teaching your dog to mouth you or to mouth your clothes, and of course if that happens you just stop the game immediately, and they will pretty soon learn that they're not supposed to do that because they enjoy playing.
Yes, they want you to turn back on. What happened? Come on, play with me. And they realize, because I bit your hand. Whoops.
Well, that's why it's important to have clear rules with a game, and with any game you're playing, and with your kids too. I just remember as a kid one time we were playing a pickup baseball game, and one of the kids just kept changing the rules, and finally all of us went, you know what, we're not playing with you. If the rules only apply to us and not to you, then we're not going to play the game. But so I think with your dog, it's the same kind of thing. Have real clear rules that if you grab my hand, or even I know it's by accident, or you grab my clothes, that's it. That's one of the rules, is you can't do that. And I think if you're clear and consistent, then it becomes a really fun game for everybody. So I think it's also important to think ahead of time, if you're going to play a game like tug, what are the rules? What is it that makes me comfortable playing tug with you? And
yeah, so I think most people prefer not to have mouthing and nipping at themselves or at their clothes. And it's not just thinking about what's good for you, but what if someone else comes to visit your house and they pick up the rope? You don't want them suddenly being mouthed by your dog either. So that's a really good rule to have. That's right. But it's a rule that dogs pick up very quickly.
Yes.
And they're very motivated to pick it up because they want to play tug. So it works out, when you have rules, it works out very, very nicely.
Very good. Very good. So is there anything in particular that if you were to tell somebody bringing home a brand new dog, what are maybe 2 or 3 things you'd recommend for somebody to do to help them bond with their dog, their brand new dog?
I would say, first of all, to think about how you want things to be, and then you can be consistent from the very beginning about what you want your dog to do. And for example, some people love their dog to get on the couch with them, and some people don't. So if you just decide what that rule is from the beginning, then it makes it much easier, and you're not changing the rules on the dog, and it will help them to settle in. I would say also give your dog a bit of time, because it can be quite stressful for a dog coming to a new home, and we're full of how wonderful it is, but for them, they don't necessarily know that. Some dogs do, but some of them, they don't know us very well yet. They need to get to know us. They need a bit of time to adjust to what's a big change in their life. And I think sometimes, especially sometimes when people are adopting a dog from a shelter, and they know that they're doing a wonderful thing for the dog, and it's quite hard for them to understand that from the dog's perspective, it's just another move to some new place, and they don't yet know that it's a home. It can take a while to sink in. So I would say give the dog a bit of time to settle in as well. And then always, if you're training your dog, I always say my ultimate dog training tip is just to know that you should use food to train a dog, because that's the best way to train a dog. It's it's quick, it's a nice, quick, easy reward. It makes your dog happy. You have to feed your dog anyway. You can use different treats, so it's also food enrichment because it's a different type of food than you're normally feeding them with. So it's just a really nice thing to do with your dog. And I think everybody who trains their dog with food, they get used to that lovely expectant mushy look on their dog's face when their dog is so happy and they're expecting their treat, and we really like it. So that's a really nice way to build the bond with your dog as well.
Well, those are
great tips.
Great tips. Thank you so much. So, Zazie, we've been delighted to have you with us, and we do want you to come back, especially when your book... Could you mention the name of your book again?
It's called WAG, The Science of Making Your Dog Happy.
Yes. When that comes out, we're going to have you back. So we'd love to talk to you about that some more.
Thank you.
One book that I was going to recommend, I don't know if you're familiar with it, Sophie Collins' Fun and Games for a Smarter Dog. It's 50 great brain games to engage your dog. It's not that expensive. You can get it on Amazon. It's for less than $20. And it's a book that I found has been really fun. It has all kinds of things from nose games to basic agility to obedience games, just teaching your dog basic obedience in a fun way. So that's another thing that we might want to, we'll put that link up on our website. And we'll also put a link to your blog on our website as well, under our show notes, so that people can become familiar with you and your work. Keep writing, Zazie. You're a wonderful writer.
Thank you.
And
thank you very much.
You provide us with so much good information and a great resource to go to when we need to say, look, here's the science behind it in a way that you can understand it. So thank you very much for that, and keep on writing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you for having me on your show. It's really nice to come and chat with you. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you, so thank you.
We appreciate you, Zazie.
We do, and we will see you all next week. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Your Family Dog. Got questions? Interesting ideas? Colleen and Julie would love to hear them. Call 614-349-1661 or visit www.yourfamilydogpodcast.com to share your thoughts.